Welcome, everybody. Very pleased to have you with us this morning. My name is Paul Rhodes, and I serve as chair of the Tourism Council for the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to what I think will be a very exciting and challenging program this morning. Thank you for attending this event. It's been organized out of the interests of our area, tourism businesses, stakeholders. And a special thank you to our special guest, Dr. Layla Rack, for joining us today and for multimedia channels for sponsoring today's forum. Our Tourism Council has been busy the last several years trying to find ways to embrace tourism in a broader way. We've always been concerned about the shoulder seasons and the winter, and we're trying to find ways to bring folks into our community throughout the year, and also to strengthen the relationship we have with the public to try to make sure that tourism is a vibrant, thriving industry here in the Waupaca area. To that end, we have gathered stakeholders to take a look at the assets that we have. We've done some assessment of the needs of the kinds of folks that are coming to us and those who are not. We've taken a look at adding events, so we've added the Blues Festival. We've embraced marketing and have begun working with the marketing company to help us get the word out about the blessings that we have to offer here in this area. And we've taken on the Visitor's Guide. There's a copy of that on your tables. I think the second year that we've done the Visitor's Guide is turning into a very successful publication for us. Today's forum, we hope, will provide you the opportunity for networking, to hear updates about how your local community and your state are promoting our area to visitors, as well as to hear about some current industry trends and ideas for how we might improve our appeal to current and prospective guests in our community. It's now my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Layla Rack. Layla's introduction to the hospitality industry began at a young age as her grandmother owned and operated a popular restaurant, Ulela's, in Spring Green. Layla continued on the family path working at Rock's Round Barn Restaurant in Spring Green throughout high school and college. Upon graduating from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, she began a managerial career in the hotel industry and taught hospitality-related classes at Madison Area Technical College, now Madison College. During this time, Layla went back to college and subsequently earned a Master's of Business Administration in Management from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. When she completed her graduate degree, she decided to move from the hospitality industry to hospitality higher education and began a second career as a college instructor at the University of Wisconsin-Stout in Menominee, where she earned Outstanding Teacher of the Year honors in her second year. She fell in love with teaching at the college level, so she decided to pursue a doctoral degree. She accepted a teaching position at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and enrolled in the doctoral program in higher education, where she earned her EDD. While completing her education, she served as the graduate program director for tourism at George Washington. After graduation, she became the dean of the School of Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Management at the University of New Haven in Connecticut. 2 years later, she was recruited to serve as the founding dean of the hospitality program at New York University. During her tenure as dean at NYU, the hospitality program was named Preston Robert Tisch Center for Hospitality, Tourism, and Sports Management. Layla stepped down from the deanship in 2010 after 15 years in the position and returned to the classroom. In addition to her role as an educator, Dr. Rack has published extensively, authoring book chapters and numerous articles, and is a highly sought-after speaker. She lends her expertise through board service on a wide range of corporations and associations, including the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association, the Madison Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Wisconsin Restaurant Association Foundation, the Mohegan Sun Hotel Board of Advisors, Wyndham Hotels and Resorts Women Business Travelers Advisory Board, the Educational Institute of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, New York City and Company, New York City Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Travel and Tourism Research Association, and the Society of Travel and Tourism Educators. She's a member of the Association of Travel Marketing Executives, the Council of Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Educators, the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, and Meeting Professionals International. She's a busy lady. Rack maintains a hands-on role in the real world of hospitality industry as founder and partner of Rack Enterprises, a consulting firm that provides strategic guidance to hospitality businesses and public sector agencies in the area of economic development, strategic planning, brand management, and customer service. We are very blessed to have her with us this morning. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Layla Rack.
Paul was very gracious. My mother loves all that. And so my job here today is to help you make more money. It is that simple. Some of the things I'm going to say, you perhaps will not think I know you well enough, or I don't like Waupaca. I don't live here. So, and you're right, I don't. But what I do want to do today is I want you to think differently. I want you to think about your visitor differently, because I will guarantee that you are not getting the money you should be getting. And so as we go through this, when some of you, we all do it differently, kind of like the hairs go up in the back of your head, kind of like you squirm in your chair and you move back. And when that happens, you talk to me. Let's have a conversation. When you hear something and you think, okay, I'd like to know more about that, just interrupt me. It doesn't bother me. And it doesn't have to be a question. You can say, I don't agree with that. Then I'll talk a little more about it. But the goal today is that you leave here with some different thinking about how you're going to be more successful with tourism as economic development here in Waupaca. So I don't have any slides. I could have, and they'd be pretty. But I'd just rather talk to you. So I'm very, very happy. I lived in New York City for 18 years, and I lived right in Manhattan. And if you've never done that, so what I'm going to say, some people are like, really? I got tired of New York City. It's a tough place to live. It's a lovely place to visit. Go visit. It's a tough place to live. And so I decided after I stepped down as dean and I went back to the classroom, which I loved, I was going to live somewhere else. I didn't know where. My roots, I'm from Spring Green. Spring Green, when I was growing up, was 800 people. So you may relate to this. My dad kept his car keys in the car because it was a car key. Okay? We didn't lock our doors at night. Some of our doors didn't have locks. Don't be offended. So I was raised Catholic, and when I would go to the confessional, the priest would say, and my full name I named for my grandmother, Eulalia, what are your sins? And I thought he would tell my grandma. So I lied. And my grandma was a small business owner. She owned a restaurant in Spring Green, 800 people for 40 years. My grandpa Frank was a bootlegger. And Grandpa was a good bootlegger, my dad tells. There was not a bathtub for years. And he would get arrested periodically and go to jail because those of you who are my age or a little older know about when America you couldn't legally sell liquor, prohibition. And Grandpa would get caught and go to jail. Well, the third time that happened, my grandma, being a good Catholic woman, took all the money, because Frank was a good bootlegger, and she went out and bought a restaurant. And it was the Depression, remember that? And she named it after herself, Bootleggers. And then she got Frank out of jail. Frank died a very happy man, because what was Frank's job for 40 years? The bartender. I mean, it was a natural. Think about it. But Grandma ran the business, and my grandma was like 5'2", 5'3", and you didn't cross my grandma. Trust me. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit, not because it's my grandma, but I want to put it into somewhat of a perspective, because it still matters today. My grandma had a restaurant. She cooked from scratch. They killed the chickens in the backyard. I never saw it, thank God, and don't want to. Okay? I want you to think about it though. People didn't drive anywhere to go to eat, and in the 40s, the 50s, even in the 60s. Why? Women cooked from scratch, primarily, at home. We were not as mobile of a society. Yet my grandma on a Friday, Saturday would serve 400 to 500 dinners. So, and they were not all from Spring Green, which meant people drove there. And they came not because they didn't get a good meal at home. They came because of her sense of service and hospitality. She had a 3rd grade education. But she understood that you had to care about people. And as an example, and it was mainly, at this time, I'm not being at all sexist, but mainly it was men who would be in the bar. And if the man imbibed too much, Grandma's rule was, Frank, my grandpa, was about 6'4", a big man. My grandma's rule was that Frank said nicely, I'll take your keys. I'll drive you home. If the gentleman didn't agree, then Eulalia was called in. And I'm being honest, nobody wanted to talk to her about these things because she started in how she would let his wife know, and what would the children do if they were orphans. She just laid it on. Now, she didn't want Frank to serve too much, but you have to put it in perspective of the time. We didn't, you know what I'm saying to you? There weren't the laws and the strictures. But yet, Grandma knew she had to keep people coming back. She had to care for them. And they did. And she kept up with the times. In the 60s, she owned a piece of land that was in front of a 9-hole golf course, right across the street from the restaurant. So she said to the community in Spring Green, you can park there for free. Now, what did that say to all the people who golfed? They needed to thank Eulalia. So after they golfed, they'd come over for a hamburger or beer, and she realized they needed something quicker, so she started making pizzas in the basement. And I was now old enough. I can remember, I call it help, but I was no help. But I remember putting the sauce on the crust, and she sold hundreds of them. She kept up with the times. She understood customer service, that you had to care, that you had to know trends, and you had to be flexible. In my mind today, those are still things that every destination in Wisconsin needs to be aware of, and I'm going to talk about those relative to Waupaca. The other thing I will say is I'm so proud to be from Wisconsin. I'm a real booster. I lived on the East Coast for about 27 years, and it never mattered to me. I always felt bad for them because they were from Wisconsin. And they would always say to me, but Layla, what did you do there? And I say, we did the same things, only cheaper. I'm now, I've been 14 months as the Associate Dean and Director of the School of Hospitality Leadership at UW Stout, which is in Menominee, Wisconsin, which is 1 hour east of Minneapolis. And we would invite any of you to come into our classrooms. And I was delighted to hear Paul's son is probably going to be joining us in the fall. The idea of it is, ladies and gentlemen, my students need to see you because you're on the ground. And so I would welcome you. I have cards. So let's begin. Let's talk first about the economy, just very briefly. I'm not an economist. I'm not going to do any of that. I am going to, however, say to you, this is our economy. This is it, folks. Don't be thinking, okay, 6 months from now, a year, whatever. This is our economy. We are going to be a slow growth economy, but we are going to be a constant slow growth. This is who we are now. We've had a reset. Will our unemployment continue to get lower? Yes, it will, but it is never going to be what it was. We're going to be happy with it being 6.5. Somewhere in there, a little lower, a little higher. Yet, if you think about that, a few years ago, if I'd said to you we'd be happy with 6.5, and by a few years ago, what do I mean? Before 2007, you would have said, oh my God, that's terrible. Economies change. They change because of technology, they change because of demographics, they change. And ours has. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, and it's not about where the bank's this or the bank's that, our economy has changed. That doesn't mean that things aren't good, it means they are different. We were used to an economy that had constant upward trajectory. And you're going to see fits and starts. Why? Corporate, business, has not regained its confidence. We're still a bit, we're not buying as much, we're not employing as much, we're not doing as much meetings or training. We can go on and on. Why? Well, let's move to another segment. If you look just at, if you stay away from business per se, not being as active in the marketplace, also associations aren't as active. They're pulling more of their meetings in-house. They're doing more things via WebEx or Skype or you name it, okay? Why is all this happening? From my perspective, there is one reason, and it is us, the consumer. The consumer has fundamentally changed. And I started a bit with a story about my past, and it was anchored in the Great Depression. My grandma, and now my mother, who is not my grandmother's child, my mom is 94. And when she has good days, she can tell you all about the Depression. And it ruled how what I can hear her saying to me, go into education, become a teacher, you'll always have a job. She would say, oh, there are 5 children. We were kind of, if you think about it, because I grew up in the 60s, we were kind of pikers, because in a farm community, 13, 15, that was not unusual, 12, 11, and we just had 5. Today now, I say I have 4 brothers and sisters, and everybody's like, oh my God, that's huge. There is a change. But the point was, what would my mom always say? Did you save any money this week? We had piggy banks. Do you remember them? Cast iron. Mine looked like Abe Lincoln. Wish I still had it. I could go on Antiques Roadshow, make some money. The idea of it was she kept trying to push us based on her experience. I grew up in a time of incredible growth in goods and services. And here's my mom saying, save, save, save. And I'm like, I remember, I'm the middle child. I'm the one, my older sister, oh, she always saved. God, I hated her. I mean, you know, and she was the goody two-shoes. I love her to death today, but, you know, I always wanted to steal out of her piggy bank. I was not a very good person, was I? But the idea of it was just such a different time. However, what happened? This Great Recession has impacted generations, primarily what we call the mature generation. Those people right now over the age of 67 to about 90. Boomers, approximately 52 to about 66. Largest generation to date till one generation after, don't talk about. There are about 70 million boomers. And everything about their lives have changed because of the Great Recession. Then after that, you have the Xers. Xers are about age 33, 34 to about age 51. Any Xers here? The most under-recognized population we have, it is who you should be marketing to, and we tend not to. Okay? That's a small generation, and that's part of it. There was such a big generation. The boomers, when they were fully, were 78. Xers are about 45 million. After the Xers, right now, about age 21 to about age 32 are the millennials, also known as Generation Y. Any millennials? Okay. Would you do me a favor? Just stand up here, y'all. Okay, he works for the city of Waupaca. I don't know who here is from that you work with, but anytime you want to talk tourism in this generation, he is your go-to person. Do not talk to yourself. I'm a boomer. Don't talk to yourself if you're a boomer. Don't talk to yourself if you're an Xer or mature, because you didn't live his reality. This is the generation that changed everything. You see, prior to that, our generations had lots in common. Lots. And we lived, prior to your generation, a very linear life. We were born. went to school. Likely we didn't go to college, maybe, but but we might have gone to service, depending on the time frame. Got married, had children. Somewhere in that conversation got a job. Not even a job that we may have liked, but because we got married and had a family, we bought a house. Because in America, we believed you had to own your own house. And then life continued pretty constant. Until then, generally, the man retired, and then you die. That is not how our lives are today. And I think about how my life was versus my father and mother, and there are vast differences. But then I think about my nieces and nephews, and there's nothing. What do we relate on? My niece is 23 years old. She's already been to Australia twice, stayed one time for 4 months and one time for 6. I want her life. Desperately want her life. I come from a lower middle class family. Didn't know it. Why? Because everybody in my town was pretty much like that, except for one family. They had a Cadillac. You knew they were different. Everyone else pretty much drove what? Oldsmobiles? Do you know what I'm saying? Pontiacs? We were pretty much the same. Now today, try to tell me who is a lower middle class family and who is an upper middle class. You can't tell by clothes. You can't tell by speech. You cannot tell by color. Things have just changed. There's not the markers anymore. The consumer will never go back unless they're extraordinarily wealthy. I'm leaving them out. Do you understand? The 1%. Which leaves 99% of us. Now, on the other end, there is a percentage that, unfortunately, the extreme poor that we also do not include. But if you look at pretty much the majority of America, we are never going to go back to our free spending ways. We will go into credit card debt. We will not go into extreme credit card debt. So for an example, if we are going to travel for leisure and put it on a credit card, we're going to know how we're going to pay it off. Do you remember how we used to do it? We used to just buy. We didn't worry about how it got paid off because it would. We now know that is no longer true. We now know that children return home in their 20s. And I'm of the generation at 18 that was like, bye. I'm out of here. You know, and here's the difference. My dad is gone, my mom's still here. I love my parents. I love them. I cannot fathom that my mother would be my best friend. I cannot fathom that we would share clothes. I mean, it just drives me over the edge. I just can't even. And yet, I look at one of my sisters and her child, who's in her 20s, and they are best friends, and they share, and they're not alone. It's not like my sister is weird. Well, she is, but it's not because of that. It is the fact that those are the kinds of changes. It's the fact that we marry many times. It is the fact that we have multi-generational families. It is, I remember my mom had her last child when her oldest child was 14. And you know what my youngest sister was called? A menopausal baby. Because you just didn't have those wide spread out families like that unless it was a mistake. And now today, no, we don't think that way at all. And the fact is that we are much more mobile today. I can go on, my mom will die, never having been in an airplane. Never. Yet she's one of the most sophisticated people I know. Today, that is far different how we look at it. So recognize your visitor has changed. And that is where I'm now going to focus, because of that change, what it means to you in Waupaca. Fair enough? Any comments, questions, or things you'd like me to back up on, or? Okay. So, First thing I'm going to talk about is what I call a welcome. A welcome. Your welcome has to be tangible. It has to be, you have to be able to feel it as a visitor. And don't tell me you're friendly. Every town's going to tell you that. What, I mean, you ever hear of Town High? We're an unfriendly town. You know, I drove here, Boyd, Wisconsin, and I'm not making fun of Boyd, whoever you are. But I mean, they have a sign outside that says, friendly town. Good for you. What the heck does that say to the visitor? I mean, seriously, we use words like that like it will just, you'll know everything about us. I'll give you another one. You're unique. There's not a town in Wisconsin that doesn't think it's unique. I was up in Minocqua a few months ago, and I gave a speech, and they are very proud. And they should, see, it's not about pride. It's about explaining who you are. Telling me you're unique says nothing. What makes you unique? That's what you must come to. And not everything needs to be unique, ladies and gentlemen. Know who you are. What makes Waupaca a great place for leisure visitors? I'm not going to talk about transient visitors. I'm not going to talk about meeting, because who you're missing out on is the leisure visitor. Now, you have visitors who come here who have roots, correct? They do not spend anywhere near the money that I would spend, not me personally, but I have no roots here. I would be a true visitor. I am not suggesting do not have visitors with roots. I'm suggesting that's only one type of visitor. Why? They don't use your products and services like someone like me would. Okay? Secondly, I can't go where I don't know. And that is part of a welcome. And I did a very unscientific, don't get carried away with this, but in Madison and in Menominee, I just asked people where Waupaca was. Many times people said to me, you mean Waupon? I don't know where that is either, by the way. But I said, no, I don't mean Waupon, I mean Waupaca. You need to tell your story more often and more with greater clarity. Who are you? You should be able to define that succinctly, clearly, quickly. Why would you go to Waupaca? And that's something that it needs to come from you. Why should people come to visit here? And I'm going to tell you something. If you can't answer it, you don't want visitors. Why should they come? Specifically, not because you love to live here. You need to tell a story on your website. You need on your website or in your visitor's guide, you need what locals do. If you only have a day in Waupaca, what must you do and why? People want authenticity. They want to do something that not everyone else can do. You have to know what you are willing to share of your great community. And then you have to market that. You have to sell it. I'm going to tell you what happened last night. So I came in and I drove over about a 3-hour drive and I wanted dinner. And Catherine was at the front desk here. She was wonderful. She made me feel so welcome. So I said to her, okay, we've got choices to eat. I know that. I did my research. People will do their research, right? I said, you've got a restaurant. I mean, you could see it, but I knew about it. But I also read about a restaurant that's been here since 1932. And that's a long time. So I said, what do you think about it? You know what I loved about Catherine? She told me every reason I should eat in her restaurant, but she didn't diss the other restaurant. In fact, she told me why I should also eat there. So I said to her, okay, let's cut to the chase. I said, I got one night, one place, where am I going? 1932 restaurant. She said, I'll tell you another reason, you get to see downtown. And then, okay, so I say, how do I get there? Signage is the key to tourists finding you. Signage. It does not have to be garish. It does not have to be every block, but you've got to have some. Your signage is so well hidden, I don't know where it is, okay? So she gave me the local. I mean, I loved it. She gave me the local. You know, you go out here, you turn left, and you go under. Do you go under the overpass? Okay. And then you go down the ways, and you see a Kmart, and what else did she tell? One other thing, I can't remember. And so then I had to come to the end of a hill, and then I would turn at the next stoplight, right. This is not a sexist thing I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell you, I'm like directionless. My staff gives me recipe cards saying, in New York or in Washington where I lived when I got on the metro, turn left. Because I'm just lost, I am, all right? So I'm hearing everything. I'm a pretty smart person. I even repeated to her. She goes, you got it. Well, I turned 2 different times right. I saw the Alpine Apartments, I think it is. I then turned in stupidly to a car auto place that I think I could have gotten a car wash. But, you know, so then I saw this hill and oh, she's at a hill. And then, you know what I saw? Began to see incredible houses. Wonderful houses, well maintained. And then I got to a paint store and I saw a paint, they advertise a paint that's really expensive. And I thought, wow, this community really cares because that is expensive paint. But your houses are, some of them are just so unique. And I've got people behind me, by the way. And it's only a 25, but I'm doing maybe 15, maybe 12. Because I'm looking, do you know, I'm a tourist. It's still daylight. And then I turn right, and your downtown is alive. I can't find a parking space. I'm like, good choice, Layla. Because why, you don't go, do you go into a restaurant when nobody's there? Because you think, I'm not going to be the stupid one. Every parking place full. It was wonderful. So I just circled around a couple times, got to see a few other things. I saw the police officer, thought, okay, I'll pay more attention. You know, and saw the park, saw that there was a book sale yesterday. And then the people going into the theater and coming out. It was wonderful. It was an alive, vibrant, and it was after 7. That only happens on Thursday night. You have problems. Because that immediately told me I made a good choice to leave my hotel. Not to stay, even though it had a good restaurant. So your downtown signage, you need to make sure that it is alive at night. It doesn't have to go till, you know, we're not talking crazy 11 p.m. But at 7 o'clock, I shouldn't be able to pick from 25 different parking spots. But if I can't pick a parking spot, you better tell me where I can go find one. See, there I am, and I thought, I'm serious, I'm really positive there are no parking spots, but I want a parking spot. I came to eat. Even the restaurant I went to has no signage. And because everything's so busy and you're seeing, and I love your Aveda store, I mean, I love the front of that. See, it immediately saw it. Do you see what I'm saying? And again, this is not, I'm not trying to miss anybody else's. But that storefront drew me. But the other thing you don't have, you don't tell me I walked your main street. And I love the fact that you actually wait for pedestrians. And there was an older gentleman, and it took him a long. That was George. And he knows who he was. But nobody peeped at him. Nobody. It was. I'm telling you. You see, you don't know what other people see differently than you. I saw that and I thought, God, what a respectful community. And I went around the block and he didn't make the second one. He made the first, and now he's going another one. He still wasn't across that one. And I thought, oh my God, and nobody was, seriously, there was not one horn. I don't care what kind of small town you're at, that doesn't happen that often. But you don't welcome well enough. In your beautiful park downtown, there was nothing to tell me what I could have done this weekend. Nothing. I missed the darn book sale, and I love book sales. See, you have to think about, what do you want to offer? What do you want to make sure before the visit, during the visit, and after the visit that you see as a welcome? That's what I describe it as. Because we visit where we are welcome. And that has to be active and it has to be constant. Not just while I'm here, before I come, after I've come. Your website has to be convenient. I don't care if it's the city's website, the county's website, or the chamber's website. Do not make your visitor click more than once. So I go to the city's website. You have a place there. I click, but it doesn't take me to the chamber's website until I go another page and another page. You will lose people. It's very simple to fix. You need to think about convenience, social media and in person. You need to think about, where are your visitors guides? Does every business say to you, did you get one of our visitors guides? Silent Sports is big here. I met the editor of Silent Sports. Everything about Silent Sports should be as noisy as hell. Pardon me, I'm sorry. Yeah. But the actual doing of the sport, that's the silent. But you have to publicize it. You have to talk about it. It has to live in your downtown. It has to live in your businesses. There needs to be an education of the community. You need to educate them as much as you do anyone else so that they sell better, so that they sell realistically, so it comes from inside of them. So there is a pride. Really, your first time to Waupaca? Well, you're never going to have enough time. Because you're not going to get to do this, this, and this. I'll tell you something. When I was in Minocqua, you know what they said to me? Okay, here's when you have to come back. I'd never been there. They knew immediately. I didn't even get out of the room, and 3 people said, okay, here's when you come back. Do you do that to your visitors? Thank you for coming this time. Here is when you need to come back again. Yep, good. Terrific. Yeah. And see, the other thing is, you can't be afraid of selling things that aren't your business. Because you're a community. The visitor doesn't look at you as a group of individual businesses. They look at you as a community. And no matter what they're here for, they're going to experience numbers of those things. And if they're not, then shame on you. Because you haven't created the package. And it doesn't have to have the word, the package. But it does have to talk about the connection. There I go again. I'll tell you one of the things. If anyone in your community loves Waupaca and loves tourism, have them do a blog. They don't want to write? Videotape it. Put it up. Let them talk. Let them show the pride. Let them talk about why you should come and do this or visit this. Just let them explain what makes you. You're downtown, I'm serious, and there are their issues, of course there are. But I gotta tell you, your downtown is what we think about when we think about the America we've lost. You have stores. I mean, you don't have, you may have an empty storefront. I didn't see it. But you have, I mean, there's actual stuff going on. Now, I know the businesses were closed, but there was and I can't think of the name of it, I'm very sorry, but it had one of the most interesting windows with boots and suitcases and clothing. It was just a fascinating window. I took a picture of it because I just loved the juxtaposition. Now, it wasn't open. I'd love to come back and go in the store. I don't even know if I could find the hours. And see, again, you could say, oh yes, it was right there. Visitors look very quickly, or they get taken by the merchandising. You see, you always want to make sure that that information is available to them. Think convenience. Think how you can help them experience your town. These are not, I'm serious, I don't mean that you shouldn't have consultants, but so much of this you can talk about yourself. How can we make it more convenient? How can we tell a better story? What has meaning to us? This doesn't need, it needs you to come together on a regular basis and talk about it. And not have arguments. Because what may have great meaning for you has nothing for you. That doesn't mean either one of us are wrong. But if mine is so only me, that's what you, Layla, it's great, but I'm not hearing anyone else. There you may start an area on your website that's called Really, Really Hidden Gems. And then Layla can just go to town, okay? But you want to show your pride.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Did you go to North Main?
Yes, I did. That's at the stoplight. No,
Well,
that's...
if we came to the stoplight and went left.
Okay. I did not go left. I went right because I had gone 2 rights wrong. No kidding. See, and nobody told, see, there was nothing to tell me that. Holy moly.
There's no turn
Yeah.
sign that makes you go left.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but even if there's not a turn sign, if you tell me something and I'm a visitor, I'm talking as a visitor,
Yes.
then I'll know to do something, even if I can't get there right away. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yes.
Because I persevered to find the restaurant. And especially because as I kept going, it just got better. And nothing against Kmart, but I got a Kmart in my town. I'm not coming here for Kmart, with all due respect. Okay, I mean, if I am, I've got a problem. But, so that's the idea. That's what I'm saying. It just got better. But I'm going to tell you something. So let's go back to the Kmart area. Boy, it looked nice. Your streets look good. Again, see, I don't live here. So you know all the stuff. What I would ask you, are your street lights maintained? Do you fill your potholes in when they are? You know, it doesn't take a tire to be lost. Do you maintain the look of your community? And do you maintain the look of your businesses? Do you remember, those of you who kind of look like me, gray hair, that kind of thing, do you remember when McDonald's came into America? Do you know why they were so successful? Now, it was a unique product. We really didn't have that kind of thing, I understand. But the real reason, it was so clean. Yeah, you could eat in the bathrooms. I mean, that's a disgusting thing, but you get the point. It was so clean. I am telling you, do not think part of your charm is not maintaining your businesses. A fresh coat of paint. I am not suggesting we have all the money in the world, but a fresh coat of paint, a new, cleaning the rug, putting a new welcome mat out, making sure that your signage is well lit. These are things that say to someone, they care about their business, they will care about me. So I am not suggesting a complete overhaul. You have to look at that. But there are things that should be done. You should have a spring cleaning day in Waupaca. You now hate me. In Waupaca. You could do a spring cleaning day. You could go to your parks, your downtown. Your benches could get repainted. You could also do it with your businesses. And in fact, I'm going to tell you, that can be a tourism attraction. See, that is unique. And I don't mean that you shouldn't have some of the things you have, but everybody has things. Do you know what I'm saying? Think about how you can engage the visitor. They want to be part of things. Come help us. We'd be delighted. And oh, by the way, afterwards we have a great barbecue. It'll be a fundraiser for the park. People like to give back. You bring your children. We have playgrounds. You just have to think what you have. You don't always have to create something new. I'm not suggesting you don't need new things, but you don't use what you have. Okay, do people fish around here?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind? Because you got all these lakes. What are you doing? You got a chain on lakes, which I love. What can you do on them?
What kind of fish?
No, what can you do on your lakes? Give me an idea.
You can paddleboard, kayak, canoe, water
Wonder,
skiing,
like, can we
fish.
stop with kayak?
Sure.
Will you teach me how?
No, but I know somebody that will.
Okay. And how would I, no, wait. How would I find that out?
How would you find?
How would I find that out? Because see, it's always been a dream of mine to learn how to kayak. Seriously, I'm not being, I know, weird, but true.
There's a great publication called Silent Sport I could read.
Okay. Do you see?
Well, we'd be happy to
No.
connect you with Tim.
But it's the example. It is the example. That's what you have to make sure. It's not enough that you have a great chain of lakes. You have to be able not just to immediately make the sale, but tell the story. Are you a chain of lakes for the novice, the intermediary, and the expert? Do you see? Because otherwise, and this happens a lot in Wisconsin. You look and you say, oh my God, that's only people who really know how to fly fish. And I just bring that up because I want to learn how to fly fish. But I'm not going to go somewhere I'm going to look like a complete idiot. I can do that all by myself in private. Okay? So see, those are the kinds of stories you can tell. Someone here who for the first time did a silent sport. Lived here all my life. Kept hearing this phrase. Finally did it. People need to know what kind of a destination it is. People, if the sun was setting somewhere in this county, where should I be? To see the sunset. Where should I see to count the stars with my kids? See, and again, there's nothing you're making. You're telling your story. And the things that I gave you the ideas of may not resonate. You have to think about your town. But if your welcome is not going to be true, do not invite. So if you're not sure you really want tourism to flourish as economic development, like you do agriculture, like you do manufacturing, don't invite the visitor. Stay with what you are and get better at it. But I am telling you, people are looking for places that we think we've lost. And seriously, in 5 minutes last night, I saw something I don't often see. And I don't know that I can verbalize it today, but I'm going to think about it. But it was that idea of, I was thinking, my God, don't these people have Netflix? And that wasn't mean. I wasn't being mean. I was thinking, why are they all at the theater? Then I looked at the theater, and it's really kind of cool. I didn't go in, do you know what I'm saying? But it's got something to it. And I thought, oh my God, it's a community event. And those are the kinds of things we want to be part of. So on a ungodly hot July night, do you make sure that your visitors know how air-conditioned that is? And oh, by the way, it's only $5 on Thursday night. Tuesday. See? I don't know what day of the week it is or where I am. The idea, ladies and gentlemen, is think about what you have that you want to tell others about completely. Think about how well presented you are. Think about what you're doing to help the visitor, in essence, spend their money. Signage helps them spend money. Information helps them spend money. People who greet you. I will tell you one of the disappointments I had at the restaurant. They didn't tell me anything about it. They should. First time here? Should I tell you a little bit about it? Yes. First time here? What's our favorite menu item? So we're sitting there, we order, and in come these ribs, and I wanted to go over to those people's table and say, hi, you don't know me, but I'm joining you. Because I didn't know I should order the ribs. And they smelled incredible. Now you can say to me it was on the menu. We don't read like, you know what I'm getting at? So what? Big deal. But you've got to tell me about it. And I'm not picking on this restaurant. Don't. Because when I left, they made sure to thank me, which was lovely. And please come back. But you do need, Wisconsin people tend to be, I find coming back home, we are so reticent. We keep our light under a barrel. Now that doesn't mean I think it was the best restaurant I've ever been to in my life, but man, there's something there. You've been at a restaurant since 1932? Who owns it now? Is it family? I don't know. Is it a bunch of people who don't know what the heck to do with their lives? I mean, I don't know. Where do you get, I mean, on and on and on and on. They do haddock 3 ways here. 3 ways. I knew 2. And I had haddock. So again, it isn't, I know I did something weird, but you see, what you just think is common sense or ordinary isn't to everybody else. On that menu was something called sauerkraut balls. What are those? I mean, we don't play with sauerkraut where I come from. And you could say to me, you should have ordered them. No, you don't sell them to me, I'm not ordering them. I'm telling you the God's truth. You don't explain to me what you have. I'm just, and you can say, oh, but you're missing it. No, I want to hear something. And yeah, I'll tell you, Catherine, she was wonderful last night. So I said, you have breakfast in the morning? And she said, oh yeah, she explained the whole thing. And she said, but if you get up early, and I said, well, what time do you start? I mean, I'm thinking, what do you mean early? She goes, across the street is 3 Squares, lovely place, if you get up early. And I said, what's early? And I said, don't worry about that, I won't be up. But the idea was, she wanted to make sure I knew. That's what I'm talking about. These are simple things to do, but they take thought, they take effort, and they take constant reminders of the people who work with you. So again, if you were expecting me to show you how your brochure should look or your website, I care about the visitor. I care about their experience in your community. And you really do have something to offer. But I'm not the one who can believe it. You have to. So I appreciate you having me here. I wish you a great deal of luck. I'd be happy anytime to be of service for 20 minutes on the phone. I'd be happy ever just to look at something. You know, I travel quite a bit, so I'm stuck on a plane, I have a half an hour, I'll look at it. I'd be happy to do that. But I hope that, and it will take time. It always does. This will not happen overnight. But I'm going to tell you the truth. You could be a far different destination 3 years from now. Far different. If you look at the things I've talked about. And I'm happy if I can just provide you with small doses of direction. So this was very lovely. I appreciate Jeff asking me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leila. I don't know, she certainly has time for questions if anyone has any particular questions.
I don't mean to speak for anybody here, but a lot of things as you were talking came to mind about what this community does right. You know, from the chamber giving facelift awards to businesses, to the chamber being able to point across the street to Tim and say, that's who you want to talk to get kayak lessons, let alone kayaks or Dings Dock, or go to Hartman Creek State Park, for all the above. I guess I'm wondering though, what, I heard you say very briefly, and you started out talking a little bit about like the welcome slogan. And I'm not a big fan of those. I've been through the kind of visioning processes before that comes up with those. You did say very briefly that you love the just chain of lakes as a phrase. And I don't think Waupaca has any, pretends to, just says, this is who we are, this is the area. I lived here for 8 years. I grew up in Mount Horeb, just not far from Spring Green. I'm in Madison now. Close to Madison is Middleton. They call themselves the Good Neighbor City, which speaks to the people that already live there. A hot real estate market, doesn't say much to visitors. 5 miles away is Waupaca. Waupaca calls it the only Waupaca in the world. What does that mean? But it makes you wonder. Is that the kind of
No, I'm not a big slogan person. I was not trying
It's
to
not
give you,
something Waupaca's
I was not trying to give you that impression.
Okay.
See, I think instead what you need to do is know who you are, deeply, intimately. And I'm very serious. And that's where you said the chamber. I'm sure, I'm not doubting the chamber does a good job of telling you where to go. I'm saying you haven't built that story that if you're a novice, and I'm using this as the example, an intermediate or an expert, here's what you can do in Waupaca. Here's who can help you do it. That's what I'm talking about. Slogans, to me, we spend so much time and effort on it, and then we don't do anything with them, first of all. And again, yes, it's the only Waupaca in the world, and it may make you stop for a second, but then you go on. I mean, it's never going to change your life. It doesn't tell you what you can do there. It doesn't, see, what I'm saying to you is you need to invite. And how you invite is both on the website, it's in your signage, it's in your people. At the end of the day, it's about the people we meet here. I would tell people to come stay in this hotel because of Kathy. Because she took time. Okay? I would say she actually talked to me and didn't push. She was not afraid of her restaurant at all, but she wanted me to have the experience. So her welcome was extraordinary. And she was very proud of her town. I mean, that was the other thing. Oh, and she talked about how long they'd been there and why I'd like it and what meaning it had, those kind of things. That's more of what I'm talking about. And to me, that's a welcome. You don't have to use my term, but people have to have that mentality.
You talked about the park downtown. Are you referring to like the city square where the library? I was just curious, did you go to the chamber at all or see that area? It was probably right across from the restaurant you ate at?
I saw lots of I thought, oh God, you have a big fire department.
I was just curious because we have a welcome center there and I wonder if tourists see that or use that.
I did not see it, no. And see, there was nothing to tell me that I saw that I should look for it. Plus, I have to tell you, again, your storefronts, the 2 blocks I saw, were interesting. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was really...
You were looking at the right-hand side instead of the left.
Yeah. Right, because my restaurant where I parked, I was there. Plus, I'd never seen anything to tell me. And we are like that, all of us as visitors. We get very focused. Even, I'm going to tell you something. I was somewhere once, and they had a little sign in their window, and it said, turn around, look at the other side of the street as well. Seriously. And I know that sounds weird, but nobody goes, oh, well, you think I'm that stupid? Nobody does that. They literally turn around. That's what we do. And the fact that you have a main street that extends north and south, I mean, just go into small town after small town after small town in Wisconsin and look at all the closed shops.
So if we had had something where, like you talked about the park, what would we have there to tell people what's going on?
I can't tell you what, you have to think about that, but you could have something that would be reflective of Waupaca, that would say, here's what's happening this week, here's what's happening this month. You don't want to go into such detail, and then always tell them where they can find out more. Okay. Maybe you're only going to do a week, but it has to be changed regularly. Yep.
I kind of understand what you're saying because I'm not local. I didn't live here all my life. I'm not from Wisconsin. I remember the first time I was told to go to Waupaca from Appleton because that's where I was planted initially. I didn't know which exit to take. I didn't know which way to turn to find downtown. When I first came in, I wasn't sure if I should go right or left. So that might be, I think, what you're...
Yeah, and I'm not talking about, again, don't go overboard on things. You're not looking for that. But sometimes you have to go through your own town and pretend you don't know it. And that's very hard to do. I know it is. I understand. But if you're on the south side of town, then you do the north. And you really want to set aside your natural tendencies to overlook, to be too quick. And a way to do it is go to a town that's near here and do it. And really open your eyes and see what you see. And then come back here and look for some of those things. I never knew we had it. I never realized we did it better. I never realized we had done that for years. Because you become, I mean, you come to my hometown, I'm going to give you directions about a tree, you know, a greenhouse, you know, I'm serious. And there's something to that, but what I'm trying to say to you is you need to look at with fresh eyes. When you go into your grocery store, there is an example. Do you know the worst thing a grocery store can do is change where they put everything? And yeah, it will make customers, regulars, so angry. Why? Because you can't go, you just want to. It's a grocery store, you're not trying to live there. Okay? It's the same thing. Think about that way with tourists. How can you help them do what they want to do? As conveniently, as easily as possible. Because see, when I'm wasting my time, I'm not spending my money. Does that help? It's the community that has to do the work. But if you get stuck, that's where you could just give me a call and say, okay, we had a great discussion, but we don't know what to do with it. You know, that kind of thing.
Because I look at it even broader than that. I'm here, I represent our township.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a downtown.
Mm-hmm.
We have several businesses in our town. We have 4 lakes, we have golf courses, we have a lot of different sports venues for people to do. But it's encompassed in 54 square miles. It's not, you know, this is down this road 3 miles and turn right. This one's down 5 miles this way and turn left. How do you do that without making it look like billboards and signs all over the place?
Yeah,
and I don't want to say it
incorrectly,
incorrectly, but junking it up.
Yeah, no, you don't want that. You're absolutely correct. One of the things we have today, see, that's where again, I'll talk about your website. I'll talk about an app. These are not things anymore that are beyond any destination. They are not that expensive. But I'm going to tell you, if I have a destination that is difficult, if you will, to access geographically, I'm going to send you an app. I'm going to have an app available that's going to allow you, or if it's not an app on the website, I'm going to have a place that you can really go to, and it will help you with a trip planner. These are things, again, that are not as costly as they used to be. And remember, because we all have smartphones, that's the other thing, or we have GPS in our car. But don't assume you want to push it to them. Don't make them pull it from you. And that's where, on everything that you do, I would put, to help you find everything you want in the town of Rome, download our app.
Because we're even to the point of our website we have, it's like there's so much information.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're getting, and we're looking where we need to, we're considering taking tourism as part of that and creating its own tourism website for the town, just because you don't need to look for tourism after you've looked and seen ordinances and this and that and every other thing.
So let's talk about your website. It is not about how much content you have, it is about context. So nobody, no one here goes to a website that goes on and on and on and on and reads it. Why? Because you get lost. It's the same idea as a grocery store. You will get lost when they move things. See, you want a website that if I want to go more, it says read more. With me? Okay? Because I don't give two hoots about this. I want to find what I want to find. That's why your first page matters. And that doesn't mean you should have a laundry list. Again, see, that's where you have to say people don't have as much time, they don't have as much patience. We are so impatient now. And see, that's why even if you make them do 2 to 3 clicks, they're gone. And right or wrong, you can disagree, but you can dislike it, but it's the reality. So what I'm saying to you is, look at your website. What is the key? Why do people come? You've got to know this. Or another way to do it is, who are the people you want and what matters for them? That's how you build your context. Because these endless websites are stupid. Sorry. They just are. Because we get frustrated. There is proven research, too much choice, people stop. They quit. Because we always think, oh, you gotta give choice, choice, choice. No, you can give more choice, but the opener has to be, there has to be clarity, and there has to be white space, and there has to be interest. Then let them dig. Does that help?
Yeah, because it's almost, it's too much information.
Yeah.
It's becoming too cumbersome to find things out.
And know the other thing is know who you're for. See, a lot of cities and areas, towns, think they can do both the citizen and the visitor as one. No.
And that's what we currently have. and that's
We
why
use our recreation in my town. I'm a citizen. How I use our recreation facilities is far different than how a visitor does. What I know about our recreation is far different than a visitor. That you do have to target. You cannot blend these things.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right, thank you again. I'd now like to take a moment to recognize today's sponsor, Multimedia Channels, and to welcome General Manager Nick Wood to say a few words. Nick?
Thank you. Is there a possibility of getting a website to display it here?
No, I don't have the internet. I'm sorry.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
Even on our phones.
Well, that's perfect, because that kind of, well, first of all, I'm with Nick Wood with Multimedia Channels. You may know that we publish Buyer's Guide, the County Post, and then a variety of specialty magazines, including Silent Sports, which I understand actually the magazine coined the term silent sports 30-odd years ago, which everybody uses now. But what I thought was most pertinent for today was to talk quickly about Picture Post, which I think a lot of you may be familiar with if you're from the area. It's a weekly tourist publication. It's all photos of people having fun, enjoying the great resources in this area, mostly the lakes, but parks, the restaurants. So that publication has been around for 50-odd years. I think like Grandma Eulela, we're kind of finding ways to change with the times. And one of those ways is through a website, which is in production right now. It's through a WordPress platform, so it's a responsive design. It will render on whatever kind of device you're on. So if you're on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, a mobile phone, it redesigns to fit you. It's picture driven. It would be cool that if you just go to WaupacaPicturePost.com or check out Facebook. We're linking the social media to the website, but we'll have drop downs for shopping, dining, recreation, and it's picture driven. So if you want to look at recreation or shopping or dining, you click on that tab and there's a picture, big picture. It'll render on whatever device, and a little description. And if you want to click through, there'll be Google Maps, so you can get there'll be clickable directions, clickable phone number. So I think it's something that I'd welcome any one of you to look at or talk to one of your reps, like Jeannie or any of the other reps that come out. They'll be talking about it in the next few weeks. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you to Jeff and Terry and Paul and the Chamber for putting this on. I think it's a great idea to get everyone in one room and start thinking about this. And you later. So thanks.
Okay, now we're going to have a quick update on from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism and the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce from our Jeff.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And first, I'd just like to say thank you again for being here today. It's been mentioned a few times. This is sort of in response. We've had some meetings since I started 2.5 years ago now. We've had a variety of planning meetings and strategic planning, and we did an assessment last year. And one thing I've been hearing from all of you as stakeholders in the tourism industry in our community, in our communities, is that the opportunity to come together and network and discuss things and move our community forward is one that you want to see. And so today was the first attempt to do that as more of a forum, an open-ended basis. And I appreciate all of you attending and being here today. And again, I want to thank Layla for being here and taking her time to be here. And I think it's important to note that she's not here on a fee basis. She's doing this because she enjoys her home state, as she talked about, and to help us strive to move forward and invite people in our community. And I do know she has to, we all heard her busy schedule. She may have to leave before the end of the program today to get down to Milwaukee for a board meeting. So I just want to take one more time to thank Layla for being here and for doing this work. Thank you. All right, as you notice, I'm not the Department of Tourism representative. Unfortunately, after our invitation went out for this, she resigned. So you can meet today, but I have all the numbers. This is National Tourism Week, and that's the reason we wanted to schedule it at this time is to recognize National Tourism Week. You may have seen a little bit in the media with the numbers as far as from the State Department of Tourism. They put a great deal of money into studying and hiring private research firms to determine how we're doing in tourism, and that at the end of the day, that means how much money is being spent in our local communities. And they break it down to the county level. My clicker works here, which you did before, so we can have that slide up. We have our 2013 economic impact numbers here. The state breaks it down by county, and of course at the state level. And according to their research, and this is done by Longwoods International and Tourism Economics, in 2013, our county saw an increase of about 3% in visitor spending to $81.75 million. So that's the direct spending on visitors coming into our county and spending money. That also generates, with that spending, $9.2 million in local and state tax revenue, which is about the same, around 3% increase. But what the number that really strikes me, and we've shared this before, but not a lot, but without the influx of money into our community because of tourism spending, we'd all have to spend, on average, for the statewide, $590 per household to maintain our level of public services. And I think that really kind of hits home when I share that number with people, that it's a significant amount of money, not only coming directly into our pockets through direct spending as business owners and employees, but also in our tax revenue. The number of jobs maintained stayed consistent from 2012 at 1,268 jobs, and a total personal income which was a slight increase to $23.17 million. And statewide, 1 in 3 jobs are supported by the tourism industry. We don't have that number for our county specifically, but the important part there is that it is a significant number of jobs, and more importantly, it can't be outsourced. What we have here as a product for visitors in Waupaca is not something that can be replicated in another community, another state, another country. And so that's what we have, and that's what's unique to us and what we can sell and we can product and market. All right, also from the State Department of Tourism, I just thought I'd give you all an update. We work closely with the department on some of the programs that they offer. And of course, you've all heard just the explanation of marketing as a three-legged stool. And it starts with the state. The state spends a great amount of money and time promoting our great state of Wisconsin. And a few years ago, we talked about slogans earlier. They had been cycling through them, I can't remember how many, it was like 7 slogans in 5 years or something like that. But they did a lot of research and landed on fun as the number one reason why people travel to Wisconsin. So they cut through all those slogans and they just said, Wisconsin's a fun place to be, so come on and let's enjoy it. And so their commercials, if you haven't seen them, feature the cast of Airplane, the director of Airplane, I was going to say the Zuckers, but does anyone know David Zucker, is that what it is?
David and Jerry Zucker, the Zucker
Yes.
brothers. Yeah.
So they directed a scene in the cockpit of the movie Airplane, and they brought back Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and they reenacted that flying over the state of Wisconsin to see all the fun you can have. And so again, they're playing with it. They're having fun to tell people that Wisconsin's a fun place to be. And so once they do that also through their website, travelwisconsin.com. If you go out and visit, there's a link for Waupaca County and all the communities in the Waupaca County. And as a chamber, we do our best to keep that updated. So we're out there, Lynn in our office is constantly out there updating information, making sure that there's relevant pictures and information so that visitors from the state to our page on the website can see what we have to offer. They also have a few different programs that I'll touch on today. One is Travel Green. This continues to grow, and there's a number of you in the room that are business owners that are Travel Green certified. The Chamber's Travel Green certified. There's about 7 businesses in our community that are. And this is an area we've talked about a little bit, and I think it still deserves some attention. I'm not an expert on it, but I don't hear anyone talking about no longer wanting to be green, and that's still in travel. People are constantly, and I think forever will be, looking for economically sustainable practices. And when people hear that we have businesses that care about the environment and are good stewards of the environment, I think that reflects well on us. So that's something we want to continue to talk about, and I'll continue to talk about. It's basically an environmental sustainability green program, but it's produced by a marketing arm of the state. So essentially what it is, it's not real difficult to qualify. It's a marketing program. It's a way that you can get your name out there. You can strive to do a little bit better, earning I think 30 out of about 100 points. For things that you're doing from recycling to printing on duplex printing on printers, just little things here and there. So I would encourage you as a business owner to go out, contact me, find out a little bit more about Travel Green. There's only 345 businesses in the entire state that are Travel Green certified, and the Department of Tourism has an entire page dedicated to Travel Green Wisconsin. So there's a very small number of businesses, so that's a way that you can get a little bit more exposure. It's about $100 a year to be certified, so it's a great program, something I would encourage you to take a look at, talk to me about if you want some help applying for that. Also, the customer service program, and this touches a lot on what Layla talked about with being unique and welcoming people into our community. The Department of Tourism put together a customer service training program. I've given it to a handful of businesses over the last year. And I just want to extend the invitation if it's something that any of you would like to have for the employees in your business. And I would stress some of you aren't properly, aren't by definition a tourism business. However, the customer service training really is about how to make your customer's experience fun. Again, tying into the state's slogan, if you want to refer to it as that, as fun, but just how to make a good experience for your customers. And it also talks a little bit about how to know your community. And Layla talked a lot about that, and I think that's one of the questions I took away from here. And I don't know the answer right now, but how can we do some of the things she talked about so that people like Catherine exist at any business you go to? That if somebody asks where to go for dinner, they can recommend someplace and they know it intimately, and they're not, and they know the community, they know the businesses, they know what people want to know, and to provide that level of customer service. And that training program does a little bit of that. But it's something I think we want to take a closer look at. So again, like Travel Green, if you're interested in a customer service training opportunity for your employees, please let me know. I'm happy to give up one-on-one in your business, and it can be tailored to you. Also, just want to touch on grants. You've probably heard a little bit about the grant programs the Department of Tourism has, and we've taken advantage of them locally. We've done that through the Blues Festival. We just were approved for our 3rd year of GEM grant funding for marketing the Blues Festival. And the county is also in the 3rd year of a destination marketing grant to market the county as a group with the Department of Tourism. So we as a community are utilizing these grant dollars, but we're also at the end of those funding terms, of 3-year funding cycles. So any ideas you have for programs, events, things we could be invested in, if we had a little bit of help from the Department of Tourism, please let me know. The grants are generally marketing based because it is a marketing department of the state, and so they won't necessarily pay for infrastructure or operational needs, but they'll help you sell what you have. And the other one we're going to be looking at is the Information Center grant, to try to get a few more dollars to improve and maintain the visitor center that we have. So just some of the resources we have out there from the Department of Tourism and some of the things they asked me to touch on. If you have any questions about those, please don't hesitate to ask. Next, I want to get out of order with my slides and recognize multimedia again. I guess that was supposed to be earlier. Want to touch real quickly, I mentioned the last 2 years we've had some meetings to talk about things that we can do to improve our community. And the tourism assessment is a process that the Department of Tourism has developed to help communities our size to better understand ourselves and talk about how we're going to market ourselves and improve upon ourselves. So we had a group of about 30 business and community stakeholders last year that met over a series of 3 meetings and identified, and we put together a pretty thorough report. We did some surveying and some studying, and that entire report is available if you want to. If you haven't seen it, hopefully most of you have. But what I just want to revisit today are the 8 recommendations we came up with, and to just give you kind of an update as far as what we've done to develop some of these over the last year. The first was to develop a more consistent and targeted ad campaign. It was identified through surveys. Layla mentioned it today that people don't know who we are. Of course, we have a finite amount of financial resources to promote ourselves, and so we felt we could do a better job of being a little more consistent with what we're selling, as opposed to working with publications individually to develop ads that, if you put them next to each other, don't hardly resemble each other at all, other than the name Waupaca in some shape or form. We work with an ad agency to put together a consistent campaign, and I've got some samples of those ads for you here. And real quick, we also talked, and I'll talk a little bit more about silent sports. That was something we felt we could do better about marketing and a niche market we could take advantage of. And so, here are a few sample ads for our 2014 ad campaign. You'll see an ad on the left that's in Bike Wisconsin Trails magazine. It's a full-page ad. It's time to take the road less traveled and promotes, of course, biking in our area. Then paddling, of course, a picture of the chain of lakes. Whoever said silence is deafening hasn't really been listening. Of course, we have a lot to sell there, especially with the upper chain and the silent sports enthusiasts and the rivers as well. And that, where we have ads out, both online and in print in silent sports. We've got a couple ad buys with Madison.com. We saw some success in the past with click-throughs. And also a special insert of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Fun Times in cooperation with the Department of Tourism. And then in the wintertime, again, we talked a lot about shoulder seasons. Paul mentioned that earlier. We have Explore Across the Trails One Step at a Time, promoting the winter sports. And that, again, is going to be in silent sports. So with the limited dollars we have, we're trying to define ourselves a little bit better. And hopefully that resonates with what Layla mentioned, making sure you understand who you are and that you're telling that story. And so we're trying to do that through the silent sports niche, which we identified through the assessment. We have some opportunities. And of course, the great thing of it is, while we're selling one activity in Waupaca, once we can sell that and bring people in for that, they're going to see all that there is to offer in our community. So while we can't tell our whole story in an ad of everything there is to see and do, we can try to bring people here and introduce them to the area through their specific interests, and then through our websites and our local knowledge and our customer service, tell them all the other things that they can experience while they're here. Also, we're continuing with wedding advertising. That's been something that our Tourism Council has felt strongly that has been successful. We're booked, our hotels are booked up over the summer months. Our B&Bs are hosting weddings. We've got unique venues like the Chief Waupaca and the Chapel in the Woods that we can promote as a type of destination wedding. So we're continuing wedding advertising in Premier Bride magazine. The picture post, we do advertising trying to pull on the people who vacation here every summer, and maybe to try to plant in their minds that Waupaca is a great spot to have a wedding too, so come on back to the place you know. And also in Premier Bride and the Wedding Planner magazine. So those ads you'll see. All right, to back up a little bit. The second recommendation that was made was to pursue a trolley to run from Waupaca to Chain of Lakes along the historic electric trolley route. This is something we've looked at. We've been working with this, talking with the city about some opportunities for a public-private partnership. There's nothing that we determined that to put it all together and to do it right is sort of a pilot program. It's going to be 2015 will be the earliest we're going to be looking at. It's going to require some investment, and I'll be talking about that with some of our business owners. We're going to need some support in order to make that possible. But the idea is there, and the idea is still strong to have a trolley that could be both a tour opportunity as well as potentially a public transit opportunity as well. So you'll be hearing more about that. I talked about expanding marketing in niche audiences, and specifically we talked about silent sports. So we're working on that not only in our advertising, but I also have a group that we pulled together of all of our municipalities and some private business stakeholders to better define and package what we have to offer the silent sports enthusiast. And we've had a couple of meetings now, and we're on our way to that guide concept. Right now, when somebody comes into the chamber office, for example, we've got Hartman Creek brochure, we've got a River Ridge Trail map for the city, we've got a little bit for the county parks, talking about some of the waterways. We don't have an all-inclusive guide that talks about the biking, the hiking, the canoeing, and the skiing, and the opportunities that we have year-round. And what really hit home, we were at Canoecopia, and I had some help from a couple of people in this room to work a booth at Canoecopia in Madison. It's the Midwest's largest paddle sports expo. And we talked to about 500 people. And again, to Layla's point, a little less than a third had never heard of Waupaca. The majority were from Wisconsin, in the Madison area, but then we also talked to people from 7 different states. And most of them, the first question was, where's Waupaca? The second question was, do you have anywhere we can paddle? And then, do you have an outfitter that can help us out? And not only did they want information about paddling at a paddle sports expo, the Ice Age trail map, we had 50 copies we took. I didn't think it'd be that popular. We ran out of them in the first day and a half. The bike routes that we published, gone off the shelf, we ran out of them. Those that were interested in paddling were interested in hiking and biking as well. And so it really kind of resonated, the idea of putting this all into one guide. So it's something that we're going to be working on, and we hope to have, if not by this fall, by next year, so that we can sell our community as a silent sport destination and have the ability to do that in a concise manner and put it all together. We also put forth a recommendation to explore our ability to attract midweek business. We haven't gotten too far with that yet. It's something we've always struggled with a little bit, but we'll be working more on that. We identified that we need to stay involved with matters related to the Chain of Lakes access. Obviously, there's been a lot about that and a lot of some parking issues and access issues. But we just feel strongly that it's about, and to Layla's point again, customer friendliness. When people come and they want to use the lakes, is what they are expecting there for them. They have the opportunity to get on, or at least know where they can go to get on if there are restrictions in certain areas. Also happy to report that there's been some development. There's going to be, and it falls into the silent sports realm, the town of Farmington, in cooperation with the county, has developed, or is in the process of developing a new, what's going to be called the Grandview small boat access on Grandview Road. There'll be parking for 4 vehicles and a trail down to the water to launch small kayaks, canoes, even a small john boat if they wanted to. Not a ramp into the water, but a walking access. And so that's certainly something that helps people enjoy the water. And then also, Taylor Lake Landing will now have some designated spots for non-trailer vehicle parking. In the past, and we've heard complaints over the years from visitors, they go to the Taylor Lake Landing, they pay their $5, they have no place to park. It's all boat trailer parking, and there were even some warnings given out. And so Farmington, again, worked with the county. And the 4 spots, you're all familiar, I assume, with that landing. The 4 spots, when you first come up the hill on the right-hand side, will now be individual vehicle parking. So those with kayaks, canoes, vehicles in their truck or on their vehicle can park and have a place to access the water as well. We mentioned as a recommendation the Main Street reconstruction that's coming upon us, and just the recommendation to use that as a way to improve the area aesthetically. We heard a lot of that from Layla today, the importance of being welcoming and people knowing where to go and what to do and how to get places. And also recommendations, these came from the Department of Tourism actually, because they worked and reviewed these with us. One, to continue providing customer service training opportunities. That's always been at the forefront of the Department of Tourism's discussion over the last couple of years. And again, we heard it from Layla that customer service is a big deal. As business owners, we all know it's easier to keep a customer than to get a new one, so we need to make sure we're treating the ones we have well so that they come back. And then finally, evaluate existing wayfinding. Again, we heard a lot about it today, and it's something that I hope to put a group together. I don't have the answer for that one yet, the best way to evaluate it, but I feel, and I think this group and this recommendation came through, that we need to take a step back broadly as a larger community and determine how we can better direct people. There's always been I'll call it a difficulty getting people from downtown to the chain of lakes, and there's always sort of been that division. So how can we better represent our community, and then also talk about the larger regional area, communities like Iola that have things to offer, and parks that might not be defined within the Waupaca area as they exist today, but offer a great value to our visitors. How do we tie that all in and let people know what they can do and how to get there? Those are the recommendations we had. Are there any questions about those, or other questions about any updates we have there? I know many of you were part of that. About half of you were part of those recommendations, part of that planning process.
Jeff, are there little subcommittees around each one of those points?
Silent sports, we do have the subcommittee. The trolley, we've been meeting. A few of us have been meeting to talk about that. The ad campaign through the Tourism Council, we had a subgroup that set the direction for that, and that's going through our Tourism Council. And the rest I'll be working with that. But if you have any interest, please let me know. Henry?
I guess as a city guy, I think there's a lot of pressure in a lot of our endeavors for the city to kind of be the lead and the go-to for a lot of resources. So I really appreciate what you've done with the town of Farmington, because I think we're all in this together. And I guess whatever approaches we take should be more of an area approach. And we all stand to benefit from this, and it seems to me that if we can keep that regional focus for everything we're doing, including funding. And again, I don't have the mayor here, but it just seems to me we're pressured as it is, and we have some new initiatives out here that are great. A lot of support, I know, internally with our staff to help make this happen, but there's realities too.
Sure.
So, just a comment.
Thank you. All right. Next, just want to update you on some of the accomplishments from 2013. First, just want to touch again on the Waupaca Area Visitor Guide. It's continued to be successful in our second year. We had 93 businesses participating this year and 30,000 copies printed. It was an increase of 5,000 guides from 2012 when we ran out by around August. I think we were effectively out of our inventory. We still had them in circulation, but we definitely got them out there. And about half of those are already distributed at various locations. We distribute them around the state through paid distributors. We mail them out as requests come into the office. And of course, we distribute them locally. Of course, there's copies on your table if your business or your organization does not have copies to give out to customers. And I'll echo Layla's comment again. When somebody comes in, hey, have you seen our visitor guide? Welcome to our community. Here are some of the things to see and do. If you don't have those to hand out and would like those, I would encourage you to please let me know and I'll get some to you. An area we looked at last year a little bit more closely than we had in the past is earned media. Earned media is essentially defined as, it's not free, free advertising essentially. When a magazine or publication or a media source picks up and does a story that helps to tell our story and effectively advertise our community. And I did my best to quantify it last year. We estimate there was $30,800 we had in earned media last year. That was highlighted by support of the Your Town Waupaca program at Channel 7 in Wausau area that we were featured for a week on Channel 7 out of Wausau. Had some great responses to our website on that, where we haven't seen a lot of interest from that community. They were checking us out. We had a featured article in Milwaukee Journal Sentinel Fun Times edition through the Department of Tourism. And we also had the casino was featured in the Wisconsin State Journal. So just those are three of the examples, but we had a lot of exposure through that earned media. And so I continue to work with that, trying to find ways to make sure that the publishers and the writers, the travel writers know about us. We also hosted a writer from Tampa Bay last year, the Tampa Bay Tribune actually, and he was fishing for 3 days. We're still waiting for that story to come out. And this year we have already scheduled WisconsinParents.com. Julia Henning, the writer for that publication, is going to be here and with her 3 young children camping and enjoying the area, and is going to write a story on it. And so we're always looking for opportunities to expand that because, again, while we might have to invest in buying a dinner or helping to facilitate some attraction tickets or lodging or dinners, it's not nearly the cost. We couldn't even come close to getting that level of advertising with the budget we have. We also continue our 4 major events with Strawberry Fest and Hometown Day Celebration being the more long-standing summer-oriented events. And we'll be coming to our 3rd years of the Blues Festival and the Pond Hockey Classic. Those are events we're developing in the shoulder seasons, trying to boost that outside of the Memorial Day to Labor Day traffic. And so far those have gone very well. We had an economic impact of the Blues Festival, about $70,000 in our 2nd year. We're very, very happy with that. About 800 people came to attend that event. Pond Hockey Classic is growing. We had a full day of play last year. There was 11 teams, and we're looking at a 2-day event next year in late January. So those are a few of the things we're trying to do event-based to bring people in on certain weekends. Our website continues to be widely used by those that are current or prospective visitors. We had over 90,000 visits last year. It was about 70,000 people that visited 90,000 times. And so we continue to do well there. And I Love Waupaca continues to grow. We're up to 2,500 likes, and we reached 170,000 people. So that's how many people saw whatever messages were shared or posted on our page through their network of friends. The office continues to help visitors as they come into the community and provide information. We had nearly 16,000 visitor inquiries last year. So that's aside from the website. That's phone calls, personal visits, and email requests for information. And of course, we already talked about we completed the Waupaca Area Tourism Assessment that we continue to work with. And so with that, one more thing I'd like to just introduce for those that are not familiar. The Chamber recently purchased a program called Save Local Now. And obviously it's local, but I think this has got an opportunity for our visitors as well. This is a program that's going across the country. It's not just a Waupaca program. We bought into it. It's essentially a discount program where businesses can go out. Our chamber, this program is exclusive to chamber members and is available at no charge. But you can go out and set up a profile and put any promotions or deals or information on there that you'd like. And it's very mobile friendly. One of the things Layla mentioned is the importance of websites having too much information. This is the opposite of that. It's very basic. It provides basic information on where your business is and what you offer, and you can post some deals on it. And from there, it's just a great tool for people to find out what there is available locally and maybe where some of the cost-saving deals or promotions are happening. So we'd encourage you. There's a card in the tucked into your visitor guide for that. So if you have any questions, let us know. And also, I failed to mention, tucked into your visitor guide is a sheet, a template that I've adopted for our community from the Department of Tourism with economic impact numbers for the state and Waupaca County for 2013. So you have that to take with you, and if you have any questions, let me know again. So that's all I have. Are there any questions for myself or anyone else today about what we're up to or what things we can be doing? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. We do have a few minutes. If there's any open conversation we would like to have, this is an opportunity for us to talk to each other, alert each other to maybe some of the things that are going to be happening this coming season that we'd like to have everybody help share the story about. And also want to call your attention, there are a number of brochures, posters, and materials on the table over here. So those are examples. Feel free to take those with you to your businesses, have them out to customers, to visitors. And if you need additional copies, I'm sure that the suppliers of those would be happy to oblige. Are there any questions, any issues, or topics that anyone would like to address before we close? Terry,
Rachel left her business cards also, so if anybody does want a business card, there's their here on the table also.
all right, if nobody's going to jump forward. I want to thank you all for coming and spending some time with us again today. I want to thank Leila again for joining us. Obviously, a dedicated person who's really committed to making tourism in Wisconsin a vibrant industry. And to dedicate her own time and energy to join us today is really special. Thanks again to Multimedia Channels for sponsoring today's program. Thank you all for attending. This is one of a series of get-togethers we hope to continue to have so that we can continue to have a dialogue, to educate one another, and to promote Waupaca and the regional area as a great place to come and spend some time. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for coming to the film.